Moving images, movies, TV, TikTok, Instagram, do they activate or pacify us? We invented cinema deliberately as a device to allow us to dream while waking and to give access to areas of the mind that were previously only available in sleep. That's experimental filmmaker Andrew Noren in P. Adam Sidney's book, Eyes Upside Down. So we are trying to figure out how and why moving images shape our behavior. Yoko Ono said, if you dream a dream alone, it's a dream. If you dream a dream with other people, it's reality. Is perception reality? Is watching and sharing a movie or a video reality? Corlepan had asked the question, is TV real? Bingo! Have you heard the latest? It isn't out yet. Sister, brother, can you paradigm? Break the spell. Self-brainwash. Self-hypnotize. Effects precede causes. Sense ratio shifting. Reasoning backwards, non-physical. This is media fallout. This is a media yoga session. Harry Smith continued. The purpose of cinema is to put you to sleep. Harry lectured on Giordano Bruno. Bruno said, to think is to speculate with images. He also said, everything in nature is realized through interaction with its opposite. Why did we invent moving images? And more important, what are the hidden psychic events? The hidden psychic effects, the subliminal effects. How does moving images really shape our behavior? Not the evident, not the intention. This is like in your mind's eye. We shape our tools, then they shape us. Many filmmakers like Josh Safdie, the new Coen Brothers wannabe, says, I think movies are against nature. It's the most perverted art form. It's trying to replicate life. Yeah, right. James Joyce, first projectionist, cinema's about 135 years old, first projectionist in Dublin, said, I'm out of here. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? These are all filmmakers talking about moving images. Antonioni, the greatest danger for those working in cinema is the extraordinary possibility it offers for lying. Gus Van Sant proclaimed that filmmaking devastated his life. Ooh. Orson Bean said movies saved his life. How about Kenneth Anger? I've always considered movies evil. The day cinema was invented was a black day for humankind. Frank Capra, film is a disease. When it infects your bloodstream, it takes over as the number one hormone. It bosses the enzyme, directs the pineal gland, plays logo to your psyche. As with heroin, the antidote to film is more film. And of course, Herzog piped in, it makes me into a clown. Well, we're being here now, right now, on the internet with Bruno's Cinema, because Wyndham Lewis nailed it. Artists, moving image artists, live in the present and write a detailed history of the future. Yeah, right. Everything I don't say, I meant to say, and I will contradict myself so I don't conform to my own ideas. So let us consciously, as a group, take one deep breath in on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And release. Let us pry. If we study these hidden psychic effects of moving image, the moving image camera, we can avoid being a slave to technology. We can uncover these hidden psychic effects so that we can cope with what we don't like, all these complaining, whining filmmakers. I'm teasing you with my percepts as concepts. Perception is intuition, feeling, hope. Reality is a collective hunch. Marcia McLuhan's Menippean satirized translation of Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce broke the code. He had an epiphany in everydayness, that every human invention extends some humanness. So what does the moving image camera extend? Well, for an example, clothing is an extension of our skin. Knife and fork extends our teeth. The shutter in a camera extends our eyelid. Film editing extends our eyelid. So what does the moving image camera extend, whether it's a cell phone, film, video? Well, the evident answer would be the eye. You could also say it extends memory. But McLuhan probed this question by saying the foot. McLuhan says that moving images take us on a magic carpet ride. We often embrace the services and ignore the subliminal effects. Why? Well, turn to a master, Louis Buñuel. He said about his film The Exterminating Angel, its images, like those of a dream, do not reflect reality, but create it. The key is to have suspended judgment. You don't say moving image is good or moving image is bad. You survey its hidden psychic effects, and then you can learn to cope with what you don't like. You can delve deep into how these effects shape our behavior. Again, live in the present, write detailed history of the future, probing the viewing experience. Hey, 135 years ago, Lumiere's film was reviewed in the Paris newspaper. They wrote, "Now you don't have to die." Can you forget to die? Can you learn to die? Hollis Frampton. Narrative is born among the animal necessities of the spirit because we're waiting to die. Yeah, most of us know that the history of cinema is filming plays. That's what Peter Greenaway said. Hey, Marty Scorsese isn't doing much different from D.W. Griffith. So what? He broke the Bardos wide open. Greenaway said, cinema is much too rich a medium to be left to storytellers. He knew that artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting these hidden psychic effects. In fact, Edgar Allan Poe spawned the symbolists, and they were the poets who basically said, hey, it doesn't matter what you say, it's how it makes you feel, how you want them to feel. That spawned Finnegan's Wake, the rock poets, from Dylan to Jim Morrison to Patti Smith to Kurt Cobain, all symbolist wannabes. It also spawned advertising. McLuhan said and probed that advertising was sex, death, and technology. I contend that everything is sex, death, and technology. Sex is feeling, emotion, perception. Death is time. We're waiting to die? Technology is everything between two people. Eye gaze. Everything we invent. Spoken word. Printed word. Ooh, printed word. Jean Rouch, the French documentarian, said if I put a camera between me and you, it's more real than there's no camera there. Social bonding is what happens when we invent things. Why do we invent anything? Social bonding. phatic communication. And where did that phatic communication, casual communication, water cooler communication come from? Empathy. It's center without margins. It's basically, how does this invention affect our behavior, shape our behavior in the environment it creates? It's the big picture we're after. We pattern recognition so that we can come up with comprehensive awareness through things like the Tetrad, the 4 questions that Marshall McLuhan came up with. And I suggest that you do a Tetrad on the moving image camera. And we're after inventing new questions and new metaphors. Well, you got experimental film. It's not dead, it just smells funny. If you can name it, then how can it be experimental? That's the problem with trying to come up with new things and saying, here's the formula. Oh yeah, experimental film is one person or a small crew, it's non-narrative. Hey, we've got to reinvent and not be able to name what experimental film is. Carefully make plans, then do the opposite. Because it was the Balinese who said, we have no word for art, we do everything as well as we can. But of course I've got to drop Walter Benjamin's name. He recommended mastery, not of nature itself, but of the relationship between nature and humanity, science and art. I say, forget it, Walter. Not mastery, mockery of the relationship between nature and humanity. In fact, this whole thing of why did we invent the moving image is probably best summarized by Billy Wilder saying, I just hope they like my movie as much as they like the popcorn. And when they asked Robert Frost, what do you mean by this poem? He said, you mean you want me to say it worse? So get your job and your life as mixed up as possible, because art is anything you can get away with. The point of dropping all these aphorisms is to enable you to reword them, to reinvent aphorisms. We are everywhere simultaneity. Simultaneity. And all times are happening right now. Frank Zappa taught me, embrace contradiction. So in my closing benediction, I would like to quote the great Chris Marker, Sans Soleil. I remember the images I filmed. They have substituted themselves for my memory. They are my memory. I wonder how people remember things who don't film, don't photograph, don't tape. How has humankind managed to remember? Ah, Chris Marker, who said, I betrayed Gutenberg for McLuhan a long time ago. In closing, 3 quick jokes that Marshall McLuhan often said. 2 goats are backstage right over here in Culver City. They're eating film coming out of a film can. One goat turns to the other goat and says, the book was better. 2 caterpillars are on a branch. They see a butterfly fly by. One caterpillar says to the other one, you'll never get me up in one of those contraptions. So it's your duty to come up with communication of the new, because communication of the new is a miracle, but it's not impossible. Priest is crossing the Canadian border. He's got a flask. Custom officer says, excuse me, Father, what's in your flask? He goes, it's water. The custom officer says, let me see that. He takes a swig and he goes, that's whiskey. Priest goes, it's a miracle. Thank you so much.